In his lab, Dr. Weems studies sperm cells under a microscope when a nurse tells him that one of his patient's test results is ready. Later, his patient, Miles Munson, explains that a sperm bank rejected his donation and told him to see a urologist, which makes him worried. Dr. Weems assures him that the condition is not dangerous, but it is still unusual. To explain, the doctor lets Miles look through a microscope. At first, Miles sees many healthy sperm cells swimming around and thinks everything is fine. However, Dr. Weems tells him that sample belongs to someone else. When Miles checks his own sample, he sees only one sperm cell, and it is slightly larger than normal. Realizing this is bad news, he becomes concerned. Dr. Weems then offers a possible solution and brings Miles to his office. He introduces an experimental treatment called spermupramine. The medicine will not increase Miles's sperm count, but it can make the few sperm cells he has much stronger. The doctor admits the drug is not yet approved by the FDA, though it is already being tested on humans. Since he works on the research team, Dr. Weems offers Miles a sample to try for himself. Even though the situation seems suspicious, Miles accepts the medicine and thanks him. The next morning, Miles eats cereal while watching a strange children's show hosted by Captain Fatso. Seeing the medicine bottle nearby, he decides to try it and swallows one pill. Later, while waiting for the train to work, Miles meets his co-worker Larry, who asks if he is still single. Larry offers to set him up on a blind date with his wife's recently divorced friend. Miles hesitates because Larry's past setups were terrible, but Larry insists this woman only wants casual companionship. During the train ride, an attractive woman sits beside Miles. Interested, he watches her search through her purse. When she pulls out a cigarette, Miles offers to light it for her. As she leans closer, he suddenly feels a painful sensation and quietly tells Larry that his groin hurts unexpectedly. Larry brushes off the pain and jokes that Miles probably sat the wrong way and twisted something. Since he cannot think of another reason, Miles Munson accepts the explanation. When he turns back to the woman beside him, he realizes she has moved to another seat, likely disturbed by his strange behavior. Later, Miles attends a business meeting filled with older men smoking cigarettes. The meeting becomes more exciting when the company introduces a new board member, a beautiful woman named Andy Sumner. Everyone stares at her, especially after she accidentally drops some papers and bends down to pick them up. Her closeness excites Miles again, causing sharp pain between his legs. He groans loudly, making Andy ask if he is okay. The others seem less concerned and simply suggest someone help him outside. Embarrassed, Miles excuses himself and awkwardly leaves the room while holding himself in pain. Worried that the strange symptoms are connected to the medicine, Miles visits Dr. Weems later that day. He explains that every time he becomes attracted to a woman, he feels intense pain. The doctor says the only way to understand the problem is to examine another sample. He hands Miles a cup and an adult magazine, leaving him no choice but to relieve himself. Moments later, a loud scream echoes through the clinic. Dr. Weems and the nurses rush into the room and find Miles standing frozen in shock. Assuming the pain has stopped, the doctor sends the nurses away for privacy and asks to see the sample. Miles nervously says a microscope will not be necessary. When he hands over the cup, they both see a sperm cell the size of a thumb swimming inside it. Horrified, Dr. Weems quickly crushes it under his shoe. The doctor realizes the experimental drug is causing Miles's sperm cells to grow abnormally large instead of increasing in number. Normally, excitement creates more sperm cells, but in Miles's case, his single sperm cell only becomes larger and larger, which explains the terrible pain. Despite how disturbing the discovery is, Dr. Weems becomes fascinated and wants to send the remains to the National Institutes of Health for study. Disgusted, Miles watches the doctor pick it up without even wearing gloves. Dr. Weems warns Miles never to take the medicine again and hopes the effects will eventually fade. Until then, he advises Miles to relieve himself immediately whenever he becomes aroused, otherwise the cell could grow dangerously large. Unfortunately, Miles has already agreed to go on Larry's blind date that evening. That night, Miles arrives at the house of a beautiful woman named Louise carrying flowers. The moment he sees her, the pain instantly returns. Trying not to embarrass himself, he quickly asks if he can use her bathroom. Louise lets him in, and Miles struggles his way there while groaning in discomfort. Once inside the bathroom, Miles Munson quickly tries to relieve himself to stop the painful pressure. Outside, Louise hears the strange noises and becomes suspicious, so she calls her friend Molly to complain about the awkward date. Molly then tells her husband, Larry, that Miles locked himself in the bathroom right after arriving. Larry awkwardly explains that Miles injured himself earlier that day and the pain may have returned. Feeling bad for him, Louise becomes more sympathetic. Meanwhile, Miles discovers that he has released a horrifying creature nearly the size of an arm. The slimy monster crawls around the bathroom while he desperately tries to catch it. In the process, he knocks over objects and damages the room, making even more noise. Furious and panicked, Miles tears down the shower curtain rod and finally crushes the creature with it, causing even more destruction. Hearing the chaos, Louise knocks on the door to ask if he is all right. At the same moment, Miles tries flushing the creature down the toilet, but the plumbing backs up. Embarrassed, he cracks the door open and awkwardly asks if she has a plunger. Louise is shocked by the ruined bathroom, but things become far worse when the creature suddenly bursts out of the toilet. Now much larger and covered with sharp teeth, it attacks them. Miles and Louise scream and run for safety while the creature slithers after them. Louise slips to the floor, giving the monster a chance to lunge at her. Miles quickly pulls it away and struggles with it as it snaps at him. Finally, he throws the creature out the window, and the two watch in horror as it climbs over the fence and disappears into the night. Trying to calm the situation, Miles insists that he can somehow explain everything. Elsewhere, a woman named Zelda talks to her mother on a payphone while walking her dog in the park. She complains about her boyfriend and barely notices that her dog has become distracted by something hiding in the bushes. Annoyed, she ignores the animal's whining and continues her conversation. Suddenly, the leash jerks violently before snapping completely. Believing her dog ran away, Zelda angrily searches through the bushes. When she sees movement, she assumes it is the dog and demands it come out. Instead, the monstrous creature suddenly reveals itself. Moments later, Zelda stumbles out from the bushes already dead, and her body collapses to the ground. Later that night, a homeless man makes himself a sandwich using scraps from the trash when he hears movement inside a dumpster. Carefully, he grabs a pipe and checks it, only to scream when his wife suddenly pops out. Startled as well, she yells at him for nearly attacking her. After calming down, the man asks what she found in the trash, and she proudly shows him a piece of chocolate. He reveals that he found half a rotisserie chicken, but jokingly says he will only share it if she pleases him first. His wife nervously backs away into the dumpster, but the man mistakes her fear for shyness. In reality, the monstrous creature, now larger than a human, is creeping up behind him. The woman tries warning him, but he misunderstands her panic. Moments later, the creature attacks. The man barely has time to scream before it devours him, and his terrified wife is left trapped as the monster continues feeding. Meanwhile, Louise surprisingly continues her evening with Miles Munson even after hearing his unbelievable story. Miles thanks her for being so understanding and promises to pay for the damage caused at her house. Louise brushes it off and says she is simply relieved that he is safe. Their quiet moment ends when they pass an appliance store showing a news report about the creature attacking the city. Reporters say the monster has already killed several people and continues to grow larger. Crowds gather to watch as officials struggle to explain how they plan to stop it. Authorities warn citizens to stay away from the creature, now nicknamed the Wet Spot. Realizing the danger has become serious, Miles decides he must tell the police the truth about the experiment. By this point, the creature has grown as large as a building and is rampaging through New York City. Reporters covering the disaster are attacked as the monster destroys streets and chases terrified civilians. Even the military cannot stop it with tanks, guns, or chemicals. In desperation, soldiers try blasting it with spermicide, but the attack fails completely. Soon, Miles, Louise, and Dr. Weems meet with military leaders to find another solution. Since every weapon has failed, Dr. Weems suggests giving the creature what it wants, an egg cell to fertilize. The problem is finding something large enough to attract it. That is when Miles realizes that the Statue of Liberty could work as bait. The giant creature soon heads toward Liberty Island, seemingly drawn to the famous monument. To protect the statue while carrying out the plan, the military creates a massive protective covering and places it over the landmark. Unfortunately, the protective cover fails when the Statue of Liberty's torch breaks through it. The giant creature immediately wraps itself around the monument and begins clinging to it. With no other options left, the general orders the military to continue the attack even if it means destroying the famous landmark. Fighter planes then bombard the statue with explosives, blowing up both the creature and the monument at the same time. The monster bursts apart in a massive explosion, covering much of New York City in sticky slime. After surviving the disaster, Miles Munson and Louise laugh awkwardly about how unbelievable their first date has become. Louise jokes that the strange liquid is at least good for her skin. Feeling closer to Miles after everything they endured together, Louise leans in to kiss him. However, Miles hesitates and awkwardly pulls away, clearly uncomfortable because the slime covering them technically came from him. When Louise notices his reaction and asks what is wrong, he insists that nothing is wrong, though he still avoids kissing her. Irritated, Louise presses him again, and Miles finally gives in and kisses her despite the situation. But the moment they kiss, Miles suddenly feels the painful sensation returning once again. The group quickly realizes the horrifying truth. He may still be capable of creating another giant creature that could threaten the city all over again, or possibly endanger the next woman it becomes attracted to.
And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.